Welcome back, and we are ready for Say What? In this session today, we are having a very rare conversation because we're bringing together three different lenses in discussing one particular plant, the cannabis, and we're looking at it from the spiritual point of view, we're looking at it from the clinical point of view, and we're also looking at in terms of drug policies. How do we govern and how do we control the usage, and should we be controlling the usage of it as well? So today I'm very privileged to be having four guests here with me in the studio, and just want to introduce them to you right about now. On my immediate right, we are joined by Honorable Priest Jacobs, who is from the Rastafari Society of Kenya, and also next to him is Ras Abasa. And the Rastafarian Society of Kenya is the umbrella body representing the Rastafari faith in the country, and operating under the main branches. And you have to tell me the name of that. Nyambingi, did they say that right? Nyambingi, Bobo Ashanti, and the 12 tribes of Israel. The society advocates for the legal recognition of the faith and the decriminalization of cannabis. Karibuni sana. Thank you so much for joining us. And on my far right, we have Ritho. Dr. Ritho, who is a cancer biologist. She is a cancer scientist and health policy strategist on a mission to transform cancer care across Africa. She holds a PhD in cancer, and her work sits at the intersection of science, innovation, and public policy to ensure that every patient has access to evidence-based care. Thank you so very much for joining us. And next to her, we do have another guest who's joining us from Nakada. That is Robert Olweny. And Robert Olweny is a prominent Kenyan community development professional and advocate who serves as a senior programs officer at the Kenya National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse. He plays a major public role in executing substance use prevention, enforcement, and public sensitization campaigns. Karibuni sana. What a panel this is. So diverse. We've been brought together by this one plant.
Yes.
So let's start with that plant and our relationship with that particular plant. And maybe let's start it off from ladies first. Start with Joanne.
Ladies first. All right. So I am a cancer scientist, and maybe I can start with numbers. 45,000 people in Kenya will hear the words, "You have cancer." 29,000 families will lose their loved ones from cancer. And over 100,000 patients are living with cancer. And this is a conversation we should have, because not only is the chemotherapy detrimental to their recovery, you find sometimes that they stop using their medication because of the side effects. So now cannabis comes in, where we've seen some evidence that it alleviates those kinds of symptoms. So that's where I come from, and hopefully there's some regulation to this. And at the end of it, it's about providing the dignity of a cancer patient. And that's where scientists, and all science is all about, giving evidence to that aspect.
All right. Now let's move to Honorable Priest Jacobs. Your relationship with this one plant that has brought all of us together.
Asante sana. Good evening, viewers. My name is Honorable Priest Jacob Ogundo, Rastafari Bobo Shante priest. And I'm talking about cannabis, marijuana. We call it the holy herb. We use it for spiritual purposes. Other than that, also, we use it also for medicinal purposes, because it is a medicine too. So we're here to be able to see how we can educate the people and enlighten the people about this mystical plant. Asante sana.
Let's carry on with Rasabasa, and then we'll wrap it up with Robert Olweny.
Natural greetings and love, all viewers. Whatever I may say, this plant to me, biologically, in my DNA is embedded there. Because where I come to reincarnate this time as a Banyore community in Kenya, geopolitically, my ancestor, since dawn of time, have been using in different ways. Spiritually, and also medicating, and also evoking our ancestral spirits. As also a diviner, it does a lot to me to chase away some evil spirit, because I use it in different way to appease my ancestors. This is where I'm connected to it to date.
Lovely. Moving on to Robert Olweny, what's your connection?
Thank you, Wakio. I think I'm humbled and honored to be in this panel, and I thank my leadership in the organization for allowing me to have this opportunity to come and discuss about this plant. Thank you. As you all are aware, that cannabis has been debated across the world. And here, we are also having a conversation about it. We're going to learn what it is, what are some of the effects, and indeed, this conversation offers an opportunity for us to separate myths from facts.
It's true.
And science from opinion.
It's true.
So I believe this is a platform that everyone is encouraged to engage, so that you can be able to educate the public for common good. Thank you so much.
Oh, you've brought up right where we can begin, you know, the myths and facts and the science from feelings. What does the actual evidence show, Dr. Joan Ritho? What does it show, and what does it say about cannabis in cancer care? You talked about relieving those symptoms. What is the evidence that you have seen so far, and where does the evidence begin, and where does the hype also begin or end?
Thank you for that question. So first of all, we have to understand that there's no scientific data that shows that cannabis can cure cancer. So what the data is available is it helps with the symptoms associated with chemotherapy. So and the symptoms that we see are anxiety, depression, nausea, vomiting, weight loss, all those symptoms. And the data that we have that's the strongest, it is the anti-nausea and stimulation of appetite. You see a lot of patients lose a lot of weight. So this is where they have good data. There's also some data when it comes to pain, and that's the much of it. But curing cancer, there's not a lot of it. All they've done is looked at a cell in a dish, and of course, if you put anything, bleach or cannabis or anything, it will kill cancer cells. So what needs to be done is take those scientific data and do clinical trials. That has not been done. So that's where the science, that's the limit of the science.
So that's the science, but then it's a holy herb in Rastafarian, and you've talked about how it gives you relief and how you use it for different things. Maybe just take us through how exactly you use it in different forms.
So no, in cannabis as a plant as a whole, it have roots, it have branches, it have leaves, and it have stalks. So in cannabis, wherever they are fighting in Kenya, is the psychoactive part of it. And the chemical there is tetrahydrocannabinol, the THC.
Yes.
And in our system, we have the endocannabinol receptors. So in a medical, the seeds, when I soak at night in the water and I blend in the morning, it produces hemp milk. Now hemp milk has omega-3, omega-6, omega-9, and omega-12.
Yes.
So it's very good for children who have the problem of mental stability. Again, it has a very good roughage system because the seed, a country like Nepal, nothing grows there. They use the seeds, is TH-free. The leaves are TH-free. Nothing good chlorophyll in the world like of cannabis leaves. We know even the chemical matrix formula of chlorophyll is next to hemoglobin. The science now is saying that. Now ancestors were using for that. The roots are good to relieve pain and the joints problem. Again, they are TH-free. You see, as Rastafarian, you take as a holy herb because it provides us toll. Another side, when now you mature at the age, you can use it now, the little THC. because it has around 85 synergic level chemical of spirituality. So it tap in different frequency depending the vibration and frequency you behold.
Yes.
All right, those very clear usage of it.
And also we don't smoke most of the time. We have the cloud chalice and the steaming chalice.
Yes.
So we smoke in the round. When smoke, we enchant the name of our ancestors. Jah, Rastafari, and I say my prayer, and I have my part, and I give my president passing to the left hand, which is the heart called hand.
Yes.
Wow.
And it was done this because we were taken still in Africa, but it was common in Jamaica. So people didn't know this. So they take it as Jamaican thing. But in Luya, Luo, Kisii, Bakuria, you go there, you find the same elements they are using. And it's the only element, again, can hold all types of element. Water, sound, wind, earth, and fire.
Thank you so much, Ras Abasa. I think that was very educative to learn the different usage of cannabis as a plant a whole, from the roots to the seeds to the leaves. But maybe just to get to you, Honorable Priest Jacobs, your community has been in legal battles over sacramental cannabis use for very many years. And practically speaking, what are how does that fight actually look like? What are you asking the courts to do for you specifically?
Thank you again. We went to court. That was informed by the 2010 Constitution, which has very elaborate rights, especially on these rights. Call them, let me say, rights. The 2010
Freedom to worship as well. Yeah.
Yes, it's very elaborate on rights. So that is what informed us to go to court, because for the longest years we have been suffering as a community, as a people, Rastaman and Rasta woman. It is known all over that Rasta has been using the holy herb for the longest. So our prayers in court is to have the court hear our prayer in that we want it to be decriminalized for us, the Rastafari community, to use it for spiritual purposes. Because now, according to the Kenyan law, it is illegal. So you're not seeking for legality, for legalization of the holy herb. You're seeking for decriminalization for the Rastaman to be able to use it for spiritual purposes, as he has elaborated it clearly. When we talk about the holy herb, this is not something that started to be used just the other day. It has been used for as long as man has lived. In Kenya, we have different communities which have been using it for medicine. We have the Luo community who call it Yath, which means medicine. We have the Luya community who have been using it, the Kisii community. So people have been using it to treat different diseases. So in short, we went to court because currently we know there are two people who can able to use it according to the law. Either by person who has been allowed to use it by prescription by the doctor, and researchers. So we wanted to be the third party to decriminalize, for us to use it for spiritual purposes. So it's not for everyone outside there. It's for us, the Rastafari community, because you have suffered the longest because of this, and we are seeing practice all over the world. It is being legalized. So what we would just like to urge the government, we have our brother here from Nakara, is research. Instead of condemning the whole plant, we would like it to have research, as many countries have done, and they're legalizing it for different purposes, medicinal purposes, for recreational purposes. So it's the same thing here, but we purposely, specifically, want it to be decriminalized so we can able to use it for spiritual purposes.
And that's the difference right there. It's not legalization, but decriminalization for spiritual and religious purposes. Yes. From where you sit, Robert, why is it so difficult for, what makes it so difficult for us to allow that religious use exemption? Why is it so difficult to grant that? even when countries have carved out exemptions for other substances or practices, why is it difficult specifically to grant that use exemption for the Rastafari?
Thank you, Wakio. Allow me to weigh in. I know my brothers, Abasa and Priest Jacobs, have highlighted a little bit about cannabis, how it is actually a plant. I just want to add that this plant from Cannabis sativa has over 500 chemical compounds, 100 of which actually have what we call a compound called cannabinoid. So the active ingredients there is THC, as you said, and CBD. THC is tetrahydrocannabinol. And actually, this compound is what is actually responsible for intoxication effect, that high that people get, and can cause a loss in concentration, can actually cause, memory loss, and sometimes the effects that it comes with, like for example, if I'm to actually tell the viewers out there, in terms of brain development, the last to be developed is usually called the prefrontal cortex, the front part of the brain, which is actually responsible for, decision-making, impulse control, self-regulation, and all that. So that is what is usually affected. And actually, the most vulnerable people are usually young people whose brain are still developing. So that kind of intoxication is actually responsible for causing so much harm in terms of sometimes people getting panic attacks, depression, sometimes susceptible to getting injuries and all that. So it has all these harmful effects. And that's why now you'll find that from many of the conventions, it is actually considered illegal, including in the Kenyan law. However, as they've mentioned, there's also another component, CBD, which is actually responsible for the derivatives of that particular compound is what is usually used to make, sometimes medicine that is used for curing or treating, some severe epilepsy, some chemotherapy induced, nausea and pain. So when you're talking about medicinal part, that one has been allowed in several countries for curing. But now when you're talking about this other effect that has caused a lot of harm, including accidents that actually have happened in the country, that is where we need to now begin to have a conversation, because all these are consistent with WHO, UNODC, and even the national policy on prevention, management, and control of drugs in the country, where we are approaching it from a public health perspective, that we need people who are healthy, safe, and well-being of the entire Kenya. So we are talking about issues prevention, we are talking about issues treatment and rehabilitation, we are talking about, the multi-agency collaboration, multi-sectoral collaboration. How can we be able to work together? Because when we talk about issues of cannabis, the research that we've conducted as NACADA has actually shown that 518,000 Kenyans are actually affected by cannabis. Those are people from age 15 to 65.
When you say affected, what do you mean exactly?
Basically, now they are dependent on this particular drug, because it alters the functioning of actually the body perception, thinking, feelings, and sometimes even behavior. So these are people that have gotten to a point where they cannot stop its use. I mean, they cannot control. They are suffering despite the fact that this thing is having a negative effect on their health, on their school, or even family, or even work, the reduced productivity. So when you're talking about these numbers, you find that the young people, about 193,000 between ages 15 to 24, are affected. When you talk about, when we do our research, right from primary, 0.8% in terms of prevalence, 1.8% for secondary school. For university students, it would interest you, that is quite high, about 10.7%. So when you look at these statistics, it's not just about number. These are people. These are young person struggling in school. This is a young mother trying to see, how am I going to help my son who is actually struggling with addiction? This is about maybe some workplaces where people are struggling with productivity. People actually affected in a negative way. So we are saying that it is not just about the plant, it's about the people. How can we ensure that these people are safe, these people are healthy, and for the entire well-being of Kenyans? What can we be able to do to reverse the negative effects? Of course, when you're talking about scientific research on how we can be able to also derive some of the benefits from the medicine that is coming out of that. And MACU, these are things that go through rigorous clinical trials. These are things that are actually prescribed by professionals under particular condition, and it's actually also monitored. So it is not bedeviling it. It is also acknowledging that some of these derivatives can actually be used in a positive way. But as a country, we are struggling with the negative effects. And that's why we, as a nation, have ratified some of the international treaties regarding the same. And of course, the Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Bill has actually made it illegal. So the conversation is beyond. As in, when you look at the Constitution of Kenya, for example, Article 32 recognizes religion, that we all belong to different religions. But that also has to be read in tandem with Article 43 and 53, which talks about issues of public health, but also talks about protection of children.
Just hold that thought there as I go to Honorable Priest Jacobs.
Yeah.
And I'd like you maybe to just give us a perspective of what your experience has been with individuals who have been exposed to it. Because even in religions, we always have those kind of people who are rogue. So within your community, have you also experienced misuse of the holy herb, and what does that look like within your community?
In our community, Rastafari, because we do understand the holy herb, so we don't abuse it or misuse it. We use it for spiritual purposes. And as my brother said, I heard him elaborate on the effects of the holy herb. First of all, I'd just like to remind him, I think 2-3 years ago, the World WHO did drop it from the hard drug list. And why we have so many countries now legalizing the same, I think research has been done already. And also to just add on to what he's saying, I heard him talk about the effects of the herb and the numbers. And I wonder, because you're talking about the herb and we have liquor and we have cigarette, which is legal. And cigarette, on the packet it is written, it is harmful to your health. You are from Nakada. And research is there how harmful it is worldwide. And the numbers, cancer, you're talking about cancer. Let's go about, talk about liquor. It is out there sold legally on counters. And we know the effects of these things. So I don't understand why the double standard and selective justice when it comes to the holy herb. Because if they have legalized the cigarette, and it is, in fact, even minors use it, even if you're talking about numbers, I know Nakadas have more numbers of the effects, negative effects of cigarette and liquor. We even have families who are affected from this. It is dangerous. It has severe effects in families all over the world. And these things are legal. And there's research there which shows how harmful they are. So we are talking about herb. My beautiful sister here has talked about how study has shown it can able to help cancer patients. And this is research which is outside there. How this herb has helped people and it is helping. Otherwise, we will not see many countries, because countries and countries are legalizing the same usage for different purposes, the same usage of herb. And we speak about it. If I go back to the Bible, Genesis chapter 1, it talks about God giving us every herb bearing seed for food. So you're talking about a plant that it's not something that was made in the lab as cigarette and liquor. This is a plant, like maize, like any other plant. So what are we talking about? Psalms chapter 104, it talks about God giving us the holy herb for the purpose of man to be able to wise up to ndaweze kujilisha, kupanda chakula jilisha. So we are talking about a God-given plant. We have miraa, which is being used. We know the side effects of it, muguka. So what are we talking about here?
Maybe I give you an opportunity to respond.
Thank you, Priest Jacob. I think you raise very pertinent issues, and I agree that indeed even alcohol, tobacco and all that have serious negative effects. And the truth is, when we consider all this as NACADA, even the studies that we've shown, actually, you know, in the country, about 3.2 million Kenyans are actually affected by alcohol. Yes. 8.5% affected by tobacco and all that. So all these things are harmful. So that we're in agreement. But the issue is, it is not about now, and maybe it might interest you to know that the reason why we are in this campaign, we are doing prevention, treatment and rehabilitation, is also to try to reduce the negative effects that come about as a result of alcohol. Alcohol is a big problem in this country. And that's why even the president pronounced himself that we need to combat even illicit alcohol and all that. So it is not about now adding another drug to make it legal.
It is not a drug. It is a plant. It is a herb, not a drug. That is the wrong word.
Okay, when you're talking about a psychoactive drug, we are talking about any chemical substance which is able to alter perception,
and some of those are contained in the plant.
Exactly. So that's why it is actually classified as a drug. If you actually read research, bang is actually classified as a drug, and of course we all know all these effects that are there. So I think when you're talking about policy, it's not about now adding another drug and legalizing it so that we are fighting multiple challenges. So right now we are bound by all these laws that are there. In fact, it might interest you to know that it is true. Like even at the African position is on issues of regulation of the same, issues of protecting young people, their well-being is also centered around issues of prevention, treatment, and sustainable development. And it recognized the fact that almost 60% of actually Africans, 60% of the population in Africa, they are below 25. 60% of the population are below 25 years. So these are still vulnerable adolescents that can be negatively impacted if they start taking these drugs. And you all know that I respect that as your religion, as he has described, there's a way that you do it. But for our young people, that is not how they are consuming this herb that you're calling. Most of them actually smoke them. Let's
remember that the conversation here is that it is decriminalization, not legalization
for everyone,
for everybody else.
Yes. So in terms of decriminalization, of course, it's about saying that if somebody is found to be consuming it, they are not punished by taken to the law. But it's still, when you're talking about production and trafficking, is still illegal. So when we want to decriminalize it, we also have to ask ourselves what will be the ripple effect of the same. Like in countries where it has been decriminalized, has it improved public health outcomes? Has it improved education? Has it reduced, illegal crime syndicates and all that? So I think we need to study in terms of context, both in a social, in a cultural setup, so that we see what will be the impact of the same. Because we find that countries that have done that now are also grappling with other public health challenges. So as a country, what perhaps we need to do is what is working, what does not work. So in our context, will decriminalization, for example, work? Under what regulations? So I think those are conversations that we can keep going, because it's usually about, I know it's brought about issues of decriminalization, but the others who are also talking about legalization. Yeah, so that is a conversation that can be done, and to see what will be the impact of the same. But again, it's something that has to be informed by evidence through scientific research.
Maybe John, Dr. John, you can take us through the public health outcomes in your experience. What have you seen? As you think about that as well, are there other medications that are used for that relief, and why is cannabis at a better position than the other medication that is available for cancer patients to use for relief?
Yeah, so actually I'd like to start with an analogy. So fire can cook food,
Yes.
can warm a house, but at the same time that fire can burn
Yes.
and cause harm. So I think cannabis should have that same conversation. We should understand the good and the bad. And when it comes to cancer, this is where it's important to understand the facts and the myths. Okay, so when it comes to patients going through chemo, they go through all these side effects, they need help. And at the same time, we have to realize that and understand that cancer patients are the experts of what they're experiencing. So if they say that they're losing weight, they can't eat, they have no appetite, and then this drug actually helps them, the THC component of the plant helps them, then that's when science comes in and checks for data. And there is data for the nausea and also the appetite stimulation. There's mixed data on pain, and also there's mixed data on other things that you've mentioned. So when it comes to nausea, it is actually the backup to anti-emetic. So if you go to, you get your chemotherapy and you say that, hey, I'm having problem, I have nausea and all that, they'll give you an anti-emetic. If that doesn't work, then you have to look for other options. And this is where medical cannabis comes in. This is supervised. It's not recreational. A doctor has to tell you, this is what it's used for. This is the dosage that it will be used for. And they will look at the harm and the benefits, and that should be, the benefit should outweigh the harm. And then also just overall, is this giving you a better quality of life? And at the end of the day, we should always think about the patient. And that's where So
clinically, what I'm hearing is that clinically we're able to regularize it. I'm wondering what kind of regulations we'll be having if today we're to say that we have decriminalized the use of cannabis for sacramental purposes, for religious purposes, for the community of Rastafarian. What kind of regulations do you think need to accompany it so that it remains within the community and it's not misused by others?
True, because where Rastafari takes you behind, see Rastafari, we are getting a problem because the law they are using is the cordial law. The cordial law, the last one was passed in 1994. The Constitution of 2010 allows us in culture also, because we defend roots and culture in Kenya. They even have not allowed us, even NACADA have not called us in their lab to see how we can do the research and how it works. But they normally put us under privilege, economic wise. And the Constitution says they respect our culture, they will continue with the ancestral, ancient science, which is alchemy. And the way we are living is the italist. It affects the young youths because they have endocannabinoid receptor. I remember I tell you there is an age when you reach, now we give you the part of THC, but also we use us as medicine, and you can produce even clothes. And in our community we have registered ourselves. We regulate and we can follow our brothers in Antigua, Caribbean, Barbados, Jamaica, We have seen them now, they have regulating it now, there is not causing any harm. And again, you should think also as academia, because it's a spiritual hub, remember? When they need to practice, the one who are planting are not Rasta, the one who can't handle it. Being a spiritual thing and use juju to traffic it, to reach where it's supposed to do, you partake it, it causes you harm. Definitely. Because the Kikuyu have the Mogumo tree, the Meru have the Amira tree, and also, you see Christian have their Christmas tree. The Muslim have their death tree. But Rasta, when you talk about this cannabis, it comes to be a problem. The only one have never called us at the table. But we face two punishments. When you go again to the prison, either you are Christian or a Muslim. If you follow the traditional way, you have problems there, they don't recognize there. And then the history of Rasta. 1982, when the coup was tried in Kenya, they played reggae, and reggae was banned. Till 1992, they freed it. Again, a problem came. The most wanted man being then a Rasta man. Don't people know who is Rasta? Wanugu and Wagashoshu. We faced the same persecution. 2000, Mungiki came. Again, Rasta was there. We wonder how we survived. Kibaki came again. He relieved us when he raised the statue of Dedan Kimathi. Now we saw how there is a whole community here. Is what you are advocating us. Respect us or do as long as you have raised the statue of our freedom fighters. Because also we know how to medicate, we know how to meditate. These are the youths what they are lacking. And we teach the youth the right way to partake, not to abuse it. Everything is harmful. We talk about ugali. Ugali affects a lot of brain of people. It's a very, very detriment to your health, mental health.
It's true.
But people don't know this. It gives us low thinking syndrome.
It's true.
So exactly what frameworks can you have to make sure that it is not being misused?
You have the frameworks?
Yeah. I'd like you to suggest some even for our friend here.
We have our constitution there and the laws of Rastafari also. And also we have the registered member of RSK. So we know they know how to partake it and how we train how, because it's our roots and culture. Because we fear curse than even be sentenced in jail. That's why we come here. A curse can even touch my fifth generation. So I cannot play with this because it's our way of our ancestors. Because also when the colonial came here, no one was willing to be a Christian, not everyone. So if they allow the constitution and that the Rastafari community being a part of Mau Mau and what, they should give us a chance and see. Because where I come from, even people call me doctor. And I've using some remedy from that plant. I've seen people healing through. Glaucoma is good for that. Schizophrenia, they say, is a mind-mental problem. Marijuana can relieve that. Diabetes, the seeds are very good. Migraines, mantra crap. You say university students are rising up, they are using a lot. Why? They are suffering mantra crap and they know when they take it, it cool down. It's you to re-educate the people because they are learned. When you push the evolution of mind, you develop the higher brains.
But there's also a risk of problematic use. Who stands most vulnerable in that case, in your experience?
Actually, in our experience, the young people are the most affected when you're talking about banking. In fact, if we do not do anything, and that's why I think we are doing a multi-agency approach and now doing what we call public education, and indeed using the evidence that is coming out to come up with ways in which we can not only reach these young people in institutions of basic learning institutions where we've come up with national guidelines on alcohol and substance use management that we've taken through teachers, and we have also taken to schools. Recently in 2026, just I think about a month or so ago, we were able to do wastewater analysis report that covered samples from across 12 counties in Kenya. And it actually showed that cannabis was actually the most used drug, I mean, from that particular study. So I think what we need to be aware, and that's why I think the Wakio was asking us, what are some of the controls and regulations that need to be there? So all these things, countries are, I mean, Kenya is a law-abiding country. Everything has to go through the law, come up with policies to actually push the same. And unfortunately, like we are saying, currently it is still illegal. So unless now that law is repealed so that it becomes legal, so that now you develop again regulations on how to take care of it. And regulations involve issues of sale, production, you know, supply and all that. It's much broader, it's much more complex. And of course, first of all, we also need to do studies because we find that it is becoming more popular amongst young people through peer pressure. From 2017 to 2022, when we did the study, the increase had jumped from 1% prevalence to 1.9%. And this is largely driven by a lot of misinformation and the low perception of harm that young people have of these other drugs. And of course, when we look at social media right now, I mean, many young people are being, you know, educated by that. They've allowed social media to be their doctor. They've allowed influencers to be their scientist. And you find that there's a lot of misinformation, and therefore it's becoming popular. They think that this is a good thing, but eventually it causes so much harm. So that's why we need to counter those myths with now facts, so that we can help young people to remove this notion that this thing is good, it's going to make me creative. You know, they think like it's going to increase my creative capacity. But the truth is, like, when you're talking about THC, initially in the primary action, somebody feels less anxious, somebody has this heightened keen sense of smell and taste, and therefore will eat and, you know, might become a bit more active. But later on, that kind of anxiety that they had reduced now increases. Now this person becomes a bit paranoid. They cannot follow through a task. Memory becomes an issue. That's why when we look at educational outcomes, you find that they perform poorly in class. Not to say that cannabis will, you know, sometimes people think like, if I take cannabis, then I'll pass in maths or physics. But, you know, when we talk about memory, we find that they fail. Not to, again, say that those who take fail or those who don't take then are much more brighter. Mm-hmm. We are not looking at an individual. We're looking at when we look at collectively, you see that collective data, you'll find that one thing that will be for sure, that educational outcomes are going to drop as a result of
And collectively here, I think we all agree with Dr. Joanne when she gave the analogy of fire.
Yeah,
I think that made sense to all of us, that there's good and there's also bad.
Everything
has its good and its
bad.
Yes.
And you talked about doing more studies, and also Honorable Priest Jacobs also, once when he was beginning, he mentioned that he needed you guys to do some more research.
Yes.
What kind of research would you think would be good for NACADA to explore at this point to help you either in your case or to help to understand the usage of cannabis better?
The research that needs to be done is on different strains and different effects of these different strains. Because as I said earlier, and as my brother said here, we have strains which are being used for medicinal purposes. And I think the doctor, my sister here said so. And the research also is outside there, my brother, about the benefits of the same plant. The research is outside there. So what I think the government needs to do, like other governments are doing, is just a research on these different strains and the effects of the same. Because as we as Rasta community going to court, we are very much aware of such. It's just like, I might give an example with Christians who go to church. They normally partake sacrament, is it? Not everyone partakes the sacrament. And until you reach a certain age is when you can able to partake on the sacrament, is it?
Correct.
So not everyone can just walk from his seat and go partake of the same. So it's the same as Rastafari when we talk about the Holy Hub. Not everyone, especially if you're under 18 years, you're not allowed to partake of it. We don't expose our children to the same. So we are very responsible people, we know that. Until you reach a certain age, as you said, when you are able to make your own decisions about the same. So those are the measures you are taking. Not everyone can partake. Children are not allowed. We don't use it outside there. We use it for spiritual purposes in enclosed spaces. So that I don't think has effects on other people. As we said, there are people using different things. Mirror is being used. We don't see the Nakada coming up in arms against the same. And we see the effects on the streets, what is happening, doing to youth and people. And these are the different things. So the same way they've accepted cigarette and it is under 18, the same way they've done to alcohol, what can they do the same to this? You see, what is good for the goose is good for the
gender.
Yes, that is what you're talking about. Let us just we're intellectual people. So let us just look at this thing in a balanced manner. If they've accepted alcohol, which is detrimental to people, and as we speak even now, there are people dying on the road because of the same. It's not herb, it's not marijuana. I'm very sure if you go and find out, you'll most likely 100% find out is alcohol and other substances. So why can the government, as you have said, you have noticed that many young people are using it. So the government, I don't think, why should the government spend so much money on trying to fight it and rather than trying to come up with ways they can able to make people use it in a more responsible, safer way. Even though we are not agitating for that, we as Rastafari community are agitating for it to be decriminalized so we can use it for our spiritual purposes. What are you talking about the effects on the youth? There are people who have been using it for years, 50 years and so. They have no effects, they're okay. They're functioning okay. So even if you say that it makes other people think this way, you see, it depends with individuals. As my sister said, I'll give another analogy of water. Water is good, could drink, you can cook for it, and same water can drown. You can drown in the same water, is it? So we just have to look for ways that it can be accepted and allowed to be used in a more responsible way. That is what the government need to be looking into. Not to continue the fight against this holy herb, yet still you have legalized alcohol, as you said. You cannot add another drug to the list of the drugs we have. Why can the government, the same way they have done with that, or if they want to do away with the holy herb, let them do away with alcohol and cigarettes. Let them do away with all these things. If we want a sober mind country, as you're saying, free from drugs, let the government do away with alcohol and cigarettes. If they do away with all that and do away with tutasema sawa sawa.
Haya basi, let's get to our parting shots because time is not on our side. We've actually done an hour right we are sitting here. But maybe, Robert, you could just tell us what are some of the things that you hope to see, some evidence or some data that would allow you or that would make you feel we can now start having a conversation of kulegeza kidogo so that we can have it for sacramental purposes or for religious purposes. Really quickly, 30 seconds, please.
30 seconds, okay. That's a difficult question, Wakio, because like I said, issues of fighting alcohol and drug abuse in the country is a responsibility of every Kenyan. As NACADA, we are mandated to coordinate the multi-sectoral approach whereby we are involving different agencies, from government agencies, the county governments, religious leaders and all that. So I think we are open to conversations and it has to be informed by research and data so that we are able to eventually protect people. We are not pushing anyone. We are not condescending even Rastafarians, for example. You are a religious organization. Yes. You can approach the government and we see what can we be able to discuss, how can we educate each other so that you also become agents of advocating against young people dying from this menace that has been brought about by the drug that is there. So we are open to, discussion and collaboration to be able to see that our young people are healthy, are safe, and their well-being is good, so that they become contributing members of the society. We want a society that children are excelling in their future. I'm telling young people, their minds are actually a great resource. A great resource is not what is in the soil, but the minds of young people. They need to protect it, defend it, develop it, so that indeed they can achieve positive outcomes in their life.
And your 30 seconds are way past. And now maybe we go to Ras Abasa and maybe just conclude for us what you have gained from this conversation that you feel changes your mind a little bit or makes you understand something better about NACADA's position, perhaps.
So what I may understand about NACADA most, there's some law also, universal law. Whatever our youths are surfing is called the geoelectric magnetic pool. The geoelectric magnetic pool is where you are born and related to those plants aligned to you. Because you say about our ancient strains, there were strains here are connected to us. When we defend them and use them well, we help our young youths. And to educate them, if they are not miseducated, is this geoelectric magnetic pull that is pulling them towards that drug, because it's embedded in the DNA.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I don't think we have any more time to continue this conversation. I want to appreciate your time and I want to appreciate your insights as well. And we can keep this conversation going on our socials as well. Make sure that you can follow us on TV 47 Kenya on our socials, and please participate in this conversation, which will also be a video running on our YouTube. So we hope to have that conversation going there as well. I cannot thank you enough for participating. Such a cordial and enlightening conversation. Asanteni sana, and from all of us here in the studio, my name is Wakio Mzenge. Our sign language interpreter was Catherine Simaloy, and we want to wish you all a good night.